Hi, my name is Josh Levy from Free Press. We're here at the National Conference for Media Reform, and this is Rainey Reitman, Activism Director at the Electronic Frontier Foundation. And I'm going to ask you a little bit, actually, about something else that you're doing on your time away from EFF. You co-founded the Freedom of the Press Foundation, and so maybe you can tell me a little bit about that organization and what your mission is.
Nice to be here with you, Josh. The Freedom of the Press Foundation is a nonprofit organization that we got started to support really cutting-edge transparency journalism, things in the vein of the Pentagon Papers. A lot of times these organizations are operating sort of against the grain, willing to take on major issues in ways that traditional media may have reasons not to do because maybe they're afraid of losing their advertising. So we're setting up a crowdsourced platform where everyday internet users can come to our website and make a donation and decide and learn about these organizations and decide which of them they would like their money to go to. We are currently the only way for people to make non-profit tax-deductible donations to the whistleblower website WikiLeaks.
So tell me a little bit about what prompted you to form this organization, why we needed to create something that allowed people to fund organizations like WikiLeaks that are participating in this kind of radical transparency and openness project.
So the original impetus for this organization was the WikiLeaks financial blockade. After WikiLeaks released the Cablegate, which were all of these State Department cables which shed so much light on how America was operating overseas, they faced a financial blockade. It was extra legal. It wasn't something that they had gone to court and been found guilty of something. It was that PayPal, Visa, and MasterCard just decided, after a little bit of unofficial pressure from the government, to cut off WikiLeaks accounts, so they weren't able to receive donations. And for a couple of years now, they have been struggling to bring in enough money to keep their organization afloat and to continue to provide their transparency work to the world at large. Our goal was to support not just WikiLeaks, but any of the other transparency journalist organizations out there that are trying to do things of a similar nature. We wanted to make sure that WikiLeaks and any other organization that's willing to really operate outside of traditional mainstream media would know that they would have the support of the internet community and we would keep them afloat.
So tell me about some other organizations that are getting some help from you guys.
So one of the other organizations that we recently helped fund is Muckrock News. Muckrock is a really interesting organization, which I highly recommend that if people aren't familiar with it, they go check it out. You can visit Muckrock and you can go online and you can submit a FOIA request through their website. And they help you set that FOIA request up, and then they track it through the process for you, and they follow up with it and make sure that it moves through and gets a response. And then they will actually provide whatever responses they get to journalists and make that information that you receive through your FOIA request available to journalists. And it's really taking this idea of Freedom of Information Act and putting it not in the hands of a handful of journalists and lawyers, but really in the hands of every single person who wants to know what their government is doing.
So let's talk about, what do you hope the effect on the practice of journalism might be from Freedom of the Press Foundation, and also just this wider practice of exposing more information. We've talked a lot at this conference about how hackers and geeks are creating tools that expose previously hard to find information. So why are we so focused on this, and why is the word transparency such a basis of all of this work?
Well, transparency, when we get down to it, is really one of the only tools that we have to fight against the surveillance state and national security abuses. It's one of the only ways that we have to hold governments and even corporations accountable when they overstep the bounds of what we, the public, would want. WikiLeaks has sort of epitomized this, but a lot of other organizations are doing incredible work. Our job is to really leverage that, to make the public aware of these amazing organizations that are doing this really cutting edge work, and to let other organizations know if you're willing and capable of taking on these really cutting edge issues, the internet's going to support you. That's the important thing for us, is to give people a way other than advertising through corporate money that they'll be able to get financial support for their transparency work.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, and good luck with everything.
Thanks for having me, Josh.
Okay.